Hi all, I'm Chris, and welcome to this single player run through of the game Town Builder Coevorden, published by First Fish Games. In Town Builder, a fierce building competition is underway. Noble families have gathered to compete in building the best town district. As head architect of your own family, will our skills be enough to lead us to victory? And with that, let's get to the table and set up the game. Okay. So, once we've got the play mat in the centre of the play area, we're going to take the 60 town cards, give them a shuffle, and then in the single player variant of the game, we're actually going to discard 5, which are going to get returned back to the box. So, they're out of the game for good. Now, we're going to deal our starting row of 5 cards. Like so. There we go. Now, you're going to see that there are 5 different variants of town cards during the game, delegated by their own individual colours. So, yellow cards are your housing cards, green social, silver culture, blue commerce, and red military. Okay. We'll go into more detail about what the different cards do as the game goes on. Next, we're just going to count out 25 cards, so we're going to divide the deck in half. Like so. So next we're going to take our judge cards, which are these ones here. We're going to give them a shuffle. We're going to deal 2 judges straight up above this row here. We've got commerce and we've got culture. Silver and blue buildings. These are going to give us short-term goals to strive towards. In the multiplayer game, these cards would be awarded at the end of the game. So whatever player amassed the most of each different type of building would score those cards. In the single player game, it's a little bit different. Once we've got 3 of each kind of building type, we score them straight away. So that's something we're going to aim towards. Going to put the rest of the judge cards just off to the side here. Now, what we do, we're going to take one at random. We're going to place it in the middle of this deck. So it's going to be the 26th card from the bottom of the deck. Now it's going to act as a timer, because what we're going to deal now are our award tiles. These are further goals that we can try and do. So we're going to give them a shuffle, and we're going to deal 2 alongside our judges. And again, these can just be put to the side. That judge card that we've put into the deck is going to act as a timer in how long we have to get these 2 cards here. Once it arrives, we're going to be able to score it, but these are no longer going to be available. So if we look at these 2 that have come out, one's asking us to have 2 buildings with a building cost of 3 or more. Okay, so your building cost is your resource cost, which is in the top right hand corner. That's what we're going to need to build these buildings, and we need 3 or more for that one. The other one is to have 3 buildings with no abilities. You'll see during the course of the game, and we can see in this row here, that we have hammers, which is an ability. When we build these cards, it's an instant ability. It's going to trigger straight away and give us some bonus. Stars are ongoing abilities. Once we've built that, we're going to be able to use that ability normally once per round. And then we've got the crown, which is end goal. So there are our 3 abilities. And then if we look at the vineyard in the middle, it doesn't have anything. That's what that is going to give us a reward for. If we can build 3 without any ability, then we've scored that card. Okay, so last we take our family crest. In a multiplayer game, everyone would get one of these. They also have a handy little reminder of the turn structure on the back of the card, which also details the special powers. Okay. Now it has an ability on its own that we can use once per round, and it says we can move a resource between foundations. Okay, so that's not too bad. We could use that power. So we'll just leave that to the side for the time being, and I'll describe in detail a bit more about what the powers do and so forth. We've got the game set up. Now, a turn structure of a game is very straightforward in Town Builder, as it says here. So we're going to refill the row up to 5 cards. We replenish that at the end of each round. Bit of a difference in the single player game in that at the end of each round we have to discard 2 cards from the row each round. As a turn, after we've replenished the row, we have to take 2 actions. Now these actions can be the same action, we can repeat, but you've got 3 options. First option is to start a foundation. What they mean by starting a foundation is if we look at these cards here, and as we mentioned before, the building cost. So if we look at the orphanage per se, it tells us we need a stone and a timber. Okay, we can take that card and just lay it down in front of us and start our district just down here at the bottom of the table. But what we're going to need to finish the orphanage is we're going to need the stone and the timber, and that comes to our second option. Our second option is to take a resource. If we look at the watchtower here, down the bottom it's got some timber. We can turn the card, tuck it under the existing, and we've got the timber. We've gained that resource, so now all we would need would be the stone to finish off. So there's 2 actions: take a resource or start a foundation. Now, one thing with starting a foundation, most of these will just have a set requirement that you do need. But if we look at something like the vineyard's got 2 gold coins before it's got its resources. What that means is we have to pay in gold coins before we can start trying to build that foundation. Now, gaining gold coins is our third option of what we can do. Instead of taking a card as a resource, you'll see some do have the coin value. We can have our little family crest over there. You can take a card, turn it over, and gain it as a coin instead, and that can then be used to buy something like the vineyard. Sometimes you would not even need to build the structure afterwards. Sometimes you could buy it outright, depending on what the iconography is up the top, but that'll get highlighted as the game goes on. Okay, so that's everything. Our 3 things we can do: we can claim money, we can claim a resource, or we can start building a structure. So with that, let's start the game. First things first, if I'm looking at short-term goals, I need to build a building of 3 or less cost. Well, the watchtower covers that, the orphanage covers that, so does the art gallery. Gardens, no. But if we look up here, we know we want silver and we want blue to begin with. So that's working us on both aspects. Vineyard's good in that it doesn't have a power as well, so that also works towards our second long-term goal. But first things first, what I'll do, I'll lay the foundations for the art gallery. So I'll take that and just lay that down in front of me. Okay, so the art gallery is going to need a stone and 2 wheat. Second action, let's start the orphanage. Okay, we'll turn that around, we'll take the wheat as a resource. So now all I need to finish the art gallery is a second wheat and a stone. Okay, now end of the round. This is where in the single player game you've got that choice. We have to discard 2 of these cards. So we've got to think, what cards do we want? The vineyard's going to work towards this one here. It's also going to work towards have no abilities. So pretty easy. We get rid of those 2. We replenish. And a new round begins. Alright. What we might do, we're going to need coins for the vineyard. First things first, we might bank a coin. And we'll just put that over there. Next, we do need a second hay, which we might take from this one here, and we'll put that down here. Okay, so we're done. We still need the vineyard. Windmill would be good to keep, but again, that's matching two things we require. That can go. Replenish. Alright, we only need a stone now. We don't have any stones available to us, so that's where we need to look at what else we can do. We might, in this regard, as I said, we need to work on silver buildings. And once we build this, it's going to have an instant, this is the cemetery, once we build the cemetery, it's going to give us the instant ability of gaining a resource from the discard pile, which is pretty good. We can then put that anywhere. So we might start the cemetery as our first action. Second action, we really want the vineyard, so we'll bank this second coin. Okay, so we now got the 2 coins. Get rid of the library and the tavern, and we will replenish. So just remember, our third judge is buried in this. We have till that judge arrives to meet these criteria. So we need to build 2 buildings with a cost of 3 or less. We've got our 2 buildings there, but we're running out of time to build them. And have 3 buildings with no abilities, which we've got none at the moment. What we might do is let's quickly get something built. Let's go towards that. So we'll use the back alley, and we will use for its stone. Okay, so we've got 2 wheat and a stone, 2 wheat and a stone. We've met the requirements of that card. That gets built. The art gallery now scores us 2 points towards the end of the game. And it has an ongoing ability. Its ongoing ability is if you completed a commerce foundation, commerce being the blue cards, this turn gain $1 from the discard pile. Okay, so for every blue card we manage to build on our turn, we're going to gain $1 from the discard pile with that card. So we've done one action. Second action, I am going to spend the $2, which we've saved over here, and that lets us start the vineyard. So we've met the first part of its criteria. We now need a timber and a wheat. Alright, we're now looking at what's left. We need blue. It's got 3, which is the sturdy award. We don't really need the green. They can go 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're running out of time, so we really need this cemetery to get built. I'm going to use the canal for its stone, and we will use, we need a wheat. Now cheese stand would have been good because it's only 2 resources. 2 resources, and as a blue as well. Let's take the, alright, I'm going to leave the cheese stand. That's something we're going to work towards, but we're going to take the fishery and we're going to turn it into a wheat. Let's try and get this cemetery built. So we're going to leave the cheese stand. We'll get rid of the 2 yellow. Okay, now we only need 1 stone to finish that, but unfortunately we haven't drawn any stone. Not good at all. Let's just take that cheese stand. Take the cheese stand and we'll start building that. Now all we need is a timber and a wheat for that. We've got a timber and a wheat there. Let's take the wheat and we'll put that under there. Okay, now we'll get rid of, all of these are good because they only require 2 resources to build them. Both of these cards require each other for their scoring. So we've got the inner moat and the outer moat, and their ability is score 2 points if you've got the other one. Well, we've got to get rid of 2 this turn anyhow, so that's sealed the deal. Those 2 can go. getting very nervous about now drawing, the deeper we get in this deck, drawing that third judge. Alright, the race is on. We've got to meet those rewards. We've got a timber. We need a timber. I'm going to take this timber here from the pigsty, and we're going to build that blue card. So that blue card's now built. Scores us 2 points at the game end. These ones go. Now, that's triggered the art gallery's ability. If I completed a commerce, which I did, gain a coin from the discard pile. So we just go through the discard pile till we find a coin. Merchant house has a coin, and that just banks us that coin that we can possibly use towards something else in the game. Okay, so we've done one action. Now we need a stone. The tea house is going to give us a stone. We take the stone. We now have 2 stone and a wheat. We've built the cemetery. Cemetery is now built. Those cards go. Now the cemetery has a hammer, which is an instant action. So gain a resource from the discard pile. Great. Alright, so this is scores is basically a free action. We need timber or wheat for this. We'll just take the fishery and we will put out a wheat on the vineyard. Okay, now if we look at what we've got here, we've got 3 cards with a cost of 3 or less. Okay, the requirement here was to have 2 buildings with a building cost of 3 or more. There's our 2 buildings with 3 or more. We've got the sturdy award, so 2 points we've scored. We made it in time, luckily. Unfortunately, we've got to have 3 buildings with no abilities. We've only got the 1 at the moment, and we still only have 2 blue. So we need to get more blue, more silver to meet those. Okay. We've got to decide what we want to get rid of. Well, we need that 3rd blue to meet that commerce there. It's only got 2 resources. It's going to be nice and fast to build. It'd be nice to get the school, simply because that has no power and it would meet that. But we're going to have to hope something else comes out. Bingo. And there's our 3rd judge. Okay. Well, I've actually been misreading this. We needed culture buildings. This is buildings with no ability. So 3 buildings. So it was the same. We didn't get that. That goes back. We only got that. Now we can aim towards these judges for the remaining of the game. Alright. Let us see what we will do. We only need a timber to finish the vineyard. We've got a timber there. Not too bad at all. Sawmill, 2 points, and it costs 4 timber to do. It does give us the ongoing ability in that it would give us an extra timber resource constantly, because the next foundation you complete this turn costs 1 less timber. But it's very hard to build. It would require 4 resources, so we'll take that and we'll use it for its resource. Alright, that builds the vineyard. Vineyard gets built. Doesn't have a power, so that's done. Now, we only need 1 more culture and 1 more commerce to meet these 2. We've got 2 cards with no powers, so no abilities. We've got 2 of those requirements as well. Alright, so what are we going to take now? We've got the blue there, which we can work on. The bakery, that's a very quick way to score that. It only requires 1 wheat. So we'll take the bakery and we'll start working on that. We've got $1. The ballroom's 5 points at the end of the game, so it's very, very good. But it's going to require $3. No resources to build, just a straight out purchase. So we might go towards that. And then that will give us our 3rd card without an ability. We only need $2 more and we can afford it. Let's put these out. Okay. We need 1 wheat to finish that. And unfortunately our 1 wheat is the ballroom. So we're not going to be building the bakery this turn. But what we might do... Ooh, that looks good, doesn't it? We can meet the criteria of having no powers and also having culture, 3 culture buildings if we take the fountain. But to take the fountain we need 2 gold. We don't have 2 gold. So first action, we'll cash in the ballroom for a gold. Okay. Then we're going to spend those 2 gold to build the fountain. Okay, fountain comes over to our row. We've built the fountain. Now, the good thing about that now gives us 3 culture buildings, which meets this criteria. So we've scored that one as well. And we've also scored 3 cards with no abilities. So we've scored him as well. Which now leaves us really only the commerce judge to go. And we are on our way. Once we build the bakery, we're going to meet that criteria. Now we can just look at what we might need. None of these are going to pertain to anything special, but what can we do? No power for the well, that gives us 2 points. 3 points for the water tower, but we gain a resource from the card row, so which is nice. And we get to copy another power from a building in another district. Like the sound of the water tower, so we'll get rid of those 2. Put these ones out. Okay, our 2 actions. We need a wheat. We still don't have a wheat. So what we might do, we like the sound of the water tower, so we'll start it. We'll put the water tower in our row, and we'll take the bridge as a resource, as a stone. So the water tower is now only going to require 1 more stone and a timber. We're done. Now it's time to try and get as much points as possible. So we might lead the palace. It's going to be a 5-point card. Very hard to get. We're going to have to pay for it initially and then 3 resources. But if we can score 5 points, that's going to be nice. Alright, so we'll replenish the row. And we've finally got our wheat at long last. But he's got not too bad a power. We might use the stable as our wheat. We build the stable, use it for its wheat, which then gives us our bakery. Okay. Which gives us now our 3 commerce cards, which meets that criteria. And it triggers the ability. So if you completed a commerce foundation this turn, gain a coin from the discard pile. Which we do. Okay. And that worked out really good in our favour. Of course, it gives us the option of we've got 3 cards here that all require $1 to spend. We've now got the dollar to purchase those cards and start on them. So we've just got to weigh up. 5 points is nice, but it's going to cost 3 resources. The armory, only 2 points when we build it, only costs 1 stone once we've paid the coin. But its power straight away is we can look through the unused judges and add 1. You've got to also keep in mind we're also building the water tower, which is 3 points. Gain a resource, which is going to gain us a resource as well. Okay, so for the time being we might work towards that. So as our second action we'll take a stone. So we've now got the 2 stone towards the water tower. We only need a timber left. Now we've got to decide which one of these cards we want to keep. Now a lot of the judges are going to offer the same as what they are. We're going to need pairings of 3. There's not too many cards left in this deck. And we're only just starting a yellow now. So I don't know if that's going to help us that much. So we might lead the palace. It's another 5-point card. But if we can get those resources, that would be nice. So we'll get rid of those two. We've got the dollar there that we can start on the palace if need be. Alright, here we go. Now, we only need a timber left for the water tower. And we've got 2 timbers out there. But this is where we've got to look at the order of things. We could finish the water tower straight away, but its instant power is gain a resource from the card row. Well, it's pointless gaining a resource unless we've got a foundation to put it towards. So, what we'll do as our first action is we will spend our coin to start the palace. Okay, so now we just need a stone and 2 timber for that. Then we will use the timber from the house to finish the water tower. Resources go. Water tower is built. Triggers its action is to gain a resource from the card row. Well, this is going to require stone and timber. We've got no timber, but we do have stone. And let's take this one here. Okay, so that's started. Now we've got to discard 2 cards. Well, that sealed the deal for us. No choice there. And we are getting down to the end of the game. We've got 2 turns to truly optimize what we need to do. In these 2 turns, it'd be great to build the palace. Alright, so we're going to need 2 timber for the palace. Now, once this is run out, we are going to get 1 more turn. So we're going to replenish this row once more. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. We've got to take the timber of the cellar. Now this is a bit of a no-nothing action because it's too late in the game to start a second foundation. If we had something that was 1, great, but we don't. Though when we build the cottage, it does give us an extra action as an immediate thing. And we have an ongoing power we can use once per turn where we can move a resource between foundations. So I could take the cottage and start the cottage, move the timber, and then hope I draw a straw next turn to finish the cottage, and then I would then need it's too much of a gamble. We need to bank on these 5 points, but all in all not. Let's risk it. So I'm going to take the cottage, and I'm going to use my power to move a resource between foundations. I'm going to move the timber. This is all or nothing, complete and utter long shot. Now we need to get rid of 2. Well, we need wheat and we need timber. So we're going to keep the market for the wheat. Alright, now we put out that card. That's not what we wanted. So these next 3 cards need to be 2 timbers for our plan to work. Let the shuffling gods be on our side. We need 2 timbers. 2 timbers. Here we go. A wheat, a stone, and 1 timber. The shuffling gods do not like us. And that it all came down to that. Not to worry. We'll finish what we can do. It's going to be the last turn of the game. But what we can do, that backfired on us. We can just use our power once again, because if I use a wheat, that finishes that, and that then gives us 2 actions. Yep, not going to be able to do it. Alright, so we're going to use the power to move a resource between foundations. We'll put that back where it came from. because our plan didn't work. We could have scored the 2 cards if we'd been lucky enough in the draw. First action, we take the timber. Alright, so that's built. The palace is built. 5 points. Nothing to sneeze at. Absolutely. And as a second action, it's neither here nor there. Does not matter. Let's take the market. And that's done. Game over. So now it comes down to the scoring side of things. Those ones go back in the deck because we couldn't complete them. And we add up our points. So, points for the cards that we've got. We've got no end game points, so no crown abilities here. So it's just going to be the standard points themselves. So we've got 10, 15, and 9. So we've got 24. 24 points. And then we've got 24, 2, 4, 6, 8, 32 points. 32 points all up. And if we look at our little scoring sheet, it'll tell us how we went. And as we can see, we're a little bit better than a peasant. We're actually a commoner. So I can live with that. I'm happy. 32 points. And that's Town Builder Coevorden. I hope you've enjoyed this run through. If so, please like and subscribe. And until next time.